In these next two episodes, I wanted to take you on an incredible underwater journey. Now, I've been fascinated by marine life and diving under the sea to witness what's there ever since I saw Jacques Cousteau as a kid in black and white telly in the 60s, and I just really want to take you under this world and show you what I feel and what I see. It's absolutely incredible, so I'd like you to come with me and let's go under there. Descending beneath the waves in Ireland is a privilege, one that opens your eyes to an alien world filled with weird and not so weird sea creatures. One such creature, the ocean sunfish, has fascinated me for years, and when I got the opportunity to film them, I could not resist. Well, take the ocean sunfish as an example. This is an incredible fish. It swims out in the deep ocean and it comes ashore every summer here on the west coast of Ireland, particularly in search of jellyfish. And there was a time a few years ago that I got involved with a number of scientists in the context of them trying to radio tag sunfish. And I thought this was the most unusual thing I'd ever heard. Because, you know, to catch one, how do you catch a sunfish that's potentially the size of a car, small little mini car? That was intriguing anyway. And if that wasn't enough, then here were these bunch of individuals whom I just couldn't comprehend, were so into trying to find out what did this mysterious fish do when it came up to the surface and then descended into the ocean, and where did it go? And all of these questions were answered over a period of time when I joined them as they caught and put radio tracking devices onto these sunfish. Now, they're the most amazing looking fish. The Germans call them swimming heads, and that's exactly what they look like. They look like just a head with a fin at the back and two kind of fins at the side, and they can swim like this. It's amazing. They can go so fast. And come on with me and have a look at this. Ireland's Dr. Tom Doyle was the principal scientist behind this study, which involved cooperation with the University of Wales. The first job was to locate a sunfish. Given the sea conditions, spotting them wasn't that easy. Their grey fins melded into the grey sea surface. When spotted, the boat drifted towards the sunfish and the net was deployed. Luckily, the ones caught were smallish and didn't pose too many problems when bringing them aboard. Working quickly, the aim was to get the fish out of the net and transferred into a holding pen. The aim of this study was to learn about the sunfish movements. Here, their condition could be assessed, they could be surveyed for markings, and the predominance of sea lice recorded. They could also be measured. While all this was taking place, telemetry equipment was being set up. These were the radio transmitters and tracking devices that were to be used in the recording of data. It is thought that over a 2-month period, these fish can make their way from Ireland to the Bay of Biscay in France, the coast of Portugal, or out to the continental shelf itself. A rubber strap with the device intact was placed around the fish. The fish was then put back into the water and released. The strap was timed to stay on the fish for a predetermined time period before breaking off and floating to the surface. It could then be found and the data transferred to a computer. Temperature, fin sway, depth and speed were recorded. After release back into the water, it was noted that fin sway was at its highest. Depth increased dramatically, as did speed. This probably related to the fact that the fish wanted to get away as quickly as possible. Over time, the fish returned to a more normal pattern, with more gentle movements and depth profiles recorded, as well as regular trips to the surface witnessed.
Yeah,
Diving during the day is a fantastic revelatory experience, and depending on where you dive, in other words in terms of the environment, because there are many different environments underwater. You've got a sandy bottom and some fish and shellfish associated with those areas. You've also got kelp forest, where it's like going underwater, except in this case the forest is made up of kelp. There's also cliffs, there's coves, there's rocky underwater areas, and each place has a different community of animals. If it's an exposed area, for instance, it's going to have a completely different flora and fauna. If it's a sheltered area, it'll be muddy, and it might actually have some of the more smaller species that you'd see.
One of those small species is the little cuttlefish. This marine mollusk is very active and hunts for prey during daytime and nighttime. They are no bigger than the size of your thumbnail. They are curious and will come up to you to take a closer look. Filming them during daytime is difficult, but when I manage to, their colour changing and swimming antics are fabulous to watch.
If, like me, you like a walk in the woods, imagine what it's like to go underwater and literally swim through a forest of kelp. And kelp is really important because it is really a home, a shelter for lots of different marine animals, and it's here that we'd find starfish, we find things like sea urchins, white sea urchins, and also in a lot of cases you'll actually see fish called wrasse, and what they do is they use the cover of kelp and other seaweeds to hide in, and then when they go out and forage and fish from there, they'll move out from the kelp forest and they'll go and hunt fish, and then they'll come back in and they'll seek the shelter of that. Even at night, for instance, wrasse will actually use the cover of kelp forest, and even kelp fronds, the actual leaves, they'll actually sleep in those at night. So it is a very important part of the underwater environment.
This spiny starfish is an active predator and will hunt shellfish species including cockles and mussels. The velvet swimming crab is one of the most fiercest of our swimming crab species. Juvenile fish take cover among seaweeds, giving them a chance to survive to adulthood.
So kelp forests are important insofar as that they provide shelter for different species of fish and shellfish, but they also act as nurseries for juvenile species. And that's why, you know, when I go through a kelp forest, I'm always mindful of the fact that you're going to see not just big fish and big crustaceans, but you'll also see some of the tiny ones, and they're equally as interesting to me as any other animal that swims underwater.
Grey days shouldn't determine one's enthusiasm to go out into the water. Even on rainy days, I've had many incredible experiences. Today, I met with Ecotours boatman Des O'Shea and marine biologist Lucy Hunt. Des would take us out past Derrynane to the Atlantic Ocean around the World Heritage Skellig Rocks. This is my home place, a place where for many years I've recorded some of the best marine wildlife happenings known. From swimming with basking sharks to being in the water with large marine life, the West Cork and Kerry coastline offers the best chance to see Ireland's incredible marine fauna.
Where would you get it? Here we are. Skellig's just straight west, and we're on the water, the Atlantic Ocean, with beautiful common dolphins. Wonderful. Oh, beautiful. Okay, well, we're just after spotting another couple of Common dolphins, yeah, look, here they come now. They're coming onto the bow of the boat. They're just below us here. Do you see that they come up and surface there? Yeah. You keep the camera there. Oh, that's lovely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd love to touch them, but you know, they're wild animals, so it's never a good idea to touch wild animals, but you just feel like that you want to reach out to them. I just try to get a few shots here. Oh yeah, that was nice. They make it so easy, common dolphins, you know. They just stay with the boat for a good while, so it gives you a chance to get a few close-up shots, and sometimes then they use these images, if you can get a shot of their dorsal fin, to identify the groups, particularly for bottlenose dolphins, which there's a big resonant group up in the Shannon. The Irish Whale and Dolphin Group are able to use photographs of the dorsal fin to determine which dolphin is which by the little kind of nicks and markings on the fin itself.
They always seem to come up to the boat and they like to play in the bow waves and just follow the boat along. Sometimes we call them like puppy dogs of the sea because they always want to play, really.
Okay.
So if the boat's going, they'll just come alongside. Yeah. Sometimes in Ireland you can actually even find super pods.
What's that?
That's up to 1,000 common dolphins.
1,000 common dolphins?
I've seen it off the coast of Ireland before. And here we had probably about 40 altogether.
Okay.
But, like, you can imagine if 1,000 common dolphins are coming towards you, it's just such a spectacular scene.
Well, it must be, and I mean, I can't imagine the sound underneath the water, because they emit sound. How do they do that, and why do they do that?
Yeah, so they're echolocating and clicking. You can hear their clicking and their whistles, so they're communicating to each other, and it also allows them, when they're looking for food, they echolocate and they can try and find their food that way. It sends out signals and sends signals back to them.
Yeah, what a typical beautiful day it's been, and as the sun sets behind me, it's just been one of those incredible coincidences where you go out and you don't expect much, but next thing, all of a sudden, you get these dolphins appearing from everywhere, and you get really close-up glimpses of them, also of the seabirds, and it always amazes me how incredibly rich and diverse the marine life of this area is. In fact, Ireland is a wonderful place to come out and experience this, and it's so close and up close and personal. It is an amazing experience. So, you know, the one thing about diving is that it's a real pain, you know. And why is it a pain? Because you've got to get all this gear, and I have to remember. I'm getting older now, so I need to actually make lists. Because if I don't make lists, I've often gone into the water and I've said, I forgot that. And that could be my air tank. No, I'm only messing. But yo, fins, mask, very important. Put them all out on the pier. And in the case of what I do when I go underwater, of course I have to film, so I have to remember all of this stuff. The batteries getting you know, too low, for instance. I have to recharge everything, so I've got to remember my breathing kit, and of course my bottle. But the one thing that I really hate, because you know, if you have to dive off a beach or go over rocks, it's fine off a pier here, but if I have to go over rocks, I actually have to bring lead weights with me. Now, these ones here, for instance, this weighs about 26 pounds. I don't know what that is in kg, but imagine having to traipse across loads of rocks with this stuff on. No, that's why I said it's a real pain, you know. But once you're in the water, it's excellent.
Today's journey takes me to the beautiful seaside town of Baltimore in West Cork. I'm here to meet Nick Slocum of Whale Watch West Cork. Nick is one of Ireland's premier marine wildlife experts. Today I'm hoping to get in the water with and film the second largest fish in the world, the basking shark. Here he takes people out to watch whales, dolphins and other marine life.
Well, Nick, we're only 5 minutes outside the mouth of the harbour into Baltimore, and already you've spotted a basking shark. Actually, not just one, you've spotted two, which just goes to show you.
Absolutely. This year has been particularly fantastic, Vinny. The basking shark activity is always good round here, but on the whole, we need really good hot sunshine to draw the phytoplankton right up to the surface, and then these big fish are coming up to feed on that phytoplankton. Just stop the boat there, and we've been having, up until about a week ago, we were having amazing breaching activity, and on more than one occasion, we've had a basking shark breach right in front of the boat.
Yeah, I've seen
amazing.
that. It's amazing, isn't it? It really is. Just outside the boat here now, we've got this looks like a juvenile.
This looks like a relatively young animal, yes.
Okay, so it's getting used to the boat.
Yes. Come, guys.
Isn't that fantastic?
Go round,
It's just going right down past the boat here. And this is, as Nick said, this is a relatively young, it's a juvenile. Now, I've been in the water with many of these, and some have been up to about maybe 25 feet plus. This looks around maybe the 12-foot mark. And hopefully we'll get a chance to get in the water and just have a look and see what it's like. It's really exciting. There it is again.
There's two out here, Vinny. There's one just out here on the left-hand side and one on the right-hand side. They're about 15 meters out.
I suppose the thing to do is just be quiet getting into the water, you know? We don't want to be too...
Absolutely. Just slide in as quietly as you can, and once you're in, takes the breath away, doesn't it?
It's freezing. Here we go. We get the camera.
Here he is. Vinny, right here.
These sharks really are big. It is hard to believe that their teeth, and yes, they do have teeth, are small, rounded and rendered superfluous to requirements. Perhaps over evolutionary time, basking shark teeth became redundant, given that these giants of the ocean eat some of the smallest plants and animals on the planet, plankton. Lots of research sees basking sharks turn up all around the Irish coast, from the Irish Sea right around and along the west coast.
Turning in towards you.
Originally a target species and fish for their oil and fins, basking sharks are making a slow return. According to the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, basking sharks are listed as vulnerable.
I got me chasing her down.
Yeah.
You can see the gills open.
Oh, brilliant.
And then right along the body, and I could see the fish below her as well.
Oh, fantastic.
It was lovely. Absolutely delighted.
I mean, I'm not surprised, Nick, that you've been here for a long time now doing this, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tell me the truth, Nick. This is where you want to be. You don't want to go inshore at all.
I've been doing this for 12 years.
12 years.
And this is our 12th year.
Yeah.
And I should have been doing it 112 years ago.
And like Whale Watch West Cork, I mean, this typifies the experience that people can have. We've got people on the boat here
Absolutely.
that have never, ever seen.
Never seen a basking
like
shark.
this, yeah.
And that is one of the beauties of bringing people out to see the unique wildlife of this part of the Irish coast, is that it is such a pleasure. People who have come down from the cities and never seen a basking shark, never seen a minke whale, never even seen a group of dolphins power riding on the boat.
Incredible.
That's what's so fantastic.
Wow. As you're journeying through, it's amazing in terms of the different places that you come across. In the distance you might see another reef, so you have it in your head that, okay, I think that's interesting, I'll go from one place to another, but I'll go over the sand, and it's when you go over the sand that you see some other creatures. For instance, I came across a spider crab or two, and they seem to be just journeying as if they're doing what I'm doing, moving from one place of cover to another, but they have to expose themselves for that period of time. And maybe there isn't enough food back at reef number one, so they decide to head off over the sand. And I join them sometimes as I'm filming, and it's just wonderful just to observe these animals moving. They're incredible. They don't look too nice, but believe you me, when you see them in that environment. Not everybody gets that opportunity, so that's why I really enjoy looking at marine creatures such as the spider crab. But then there's other times when you come across something that you haven't seen before. And I remember one such time I was going across a sandy area and I turned around and I saw all these fish looking at me straight into my eyes. And I kind of said, hang on a second, I don't know what they are. Now, as it turns out, they were triggerfish. These come up from the warmer waters of the Mediterranean and from the West African shores, even the coast of Portugal. And they're incredible looking fish, but they've got these kind of teeth. They're kind of like rat-like teeth, and they use them for crunching through shells. So they eat crustaceans, and typically in Ireland, when they appear around our coast from June onwards, they tend to go into lobster pots and they eat the crabs in the lobster pots. So they're not that well liked by lobster fishermen, as an example. Unfortunately for the triggerfish, they tend to die off in the winter because it gets too cold here. So I've often seen them then towards the end of October, for instance, just lying on their side, and they're very lethargic. And you can see that they've run out of energy. You can see that the sea really doesn't support communities of warm water species that may come up here from time to time. But they are incredible to watch, and they tend to follow you, so you can be quite frightened of them because you know that they can bite. And when you see them in a big shoal, I tend to generally just move away from them if I can, just in case. One of the most incredible dive experiences that I've had was the time when I was asked to remove some pots, lobster pots that had actually been stuck in rocks, and I went down probably around maybe 30 or 40 feet. It wasn't too deep, and I removed them all, but as I was coming up, I was surrounded by bottlenose dolphins, a pod of around maybe 36 to 38 dolphins, and there was adults, juveniles. It was just incredible to see, in the context of the likes of maybe even common dolphins, being in the water with them when they're feeding, being in the water and seeing them, you know, just corral fish up to the surface, and looking at it from an underwater perspective is amazing. It's the highlight of any diver's experience, I guess, when you come to the waters here in Ireland.
Yeah, you know, what a great thing to do, diving in Ireland, absolutely fantastic! Woo!
Coming up next week.
So as much as you have to be on your game for daytime diving, particularly in terms of all the equipment, imagine what it's like for nighttime.
A fascinating insight into Ireland's underwater animal communities at night.